News right now. We're learning more after an armed man broke into the Colorado Supreme Court building overnight.
Our Brianna Fernandez is there right now. And Brianna, we just got some new information in the last few minutes.
Yeah, good morning to both of you. So we know a man is in custody right now after he barricaded himself inside the Supreme Court building. So this all started as a two-car crash right at the intersection of 13th and Lincoln. I believe we do have Sky 9 over the scene right now, so I can give you a better look of what we're seeing in the area of 13th and Broadway. So right now, we know police are still investigating inside of that building, but they say that it happened around 1 a.m. when there was a crash involving two vehicles at the intersection of 13th and Lincoln. One person involved reportedly pointed a handgun at the other driver. A short time later, that same individual shot a window at the Supreme Court building. The suspect entered the building and came in contact with an unarmed security guard from the Colorado State Patrol security unit. So that individual held the security guard at gunpoint and demanded access to other parts of the building. The suspect was able to obtain the keys from the security guard and go into other parts of the Supreme Court building and access an unknown number of floors. Now, the suspect made his way to the 7th floor where he fired additional shots inside of the building. Now, around 3 a.m., the suspect surrendered and was taken into custody. Now, DPD and Colorado State Patrol are treating this incident very seriously, but they believe that this is not associated with previous threats to the Colorado Supreme Court justices. Now, back out here live, no one was injured, but we are seeing right now DPD still investigating, and there is extensive damage to the Supreme Court building. This, I'm going to say on top of this story, but that is the latest information that we got from Colorado State Patrol. Corey, Jordan?
Yeah, we appreciate you staying on top of all of that and giving us this new information, Brianna. Right now, police in Denver are looking for the person who shot someone in the parking lot of the Denver Museum of Nature and Science. It happened around 2:45 Sunday afternoon. Police say the victim is a man, but they haven't told us how old he is. Denver police also say they don't have any information about a suspect or what led up to the shooting. The museum told us most of their operations weren't impacted.
The man accused of killing a co-worker just days before Christmas is expected in court this morning. Police say that Victor Salazar Gurache shot and killed 22-year-old Bryce Holden. It happened December 23rd as Bryce was leaving his shift as a dishwasher at Topgolf. According to the arrest affidavit, Salazar Gurache left work early, drove around the parking lot, then got out of his car and shot at Bryce as well as his co-worker. Bryce's co-worker was able to run back inside. Bryce died at the hospital. Salazar Gurache was arrested a few hours later, and now Bryce's family is mourning this loss.
There's a face behind the news story. There's a soul behind the news story. And I want people to know that. Right now, my priority is to make sure justice is served.
Salazar Gurache is expected in Adams County Court at 8:30 this morning.
The mom from Colorado Springs accused of killing two of her children will stay in the UK for at least a month. She was arrested over the weekend. Kimberly Singler just made her first court appearance in London. Now we're learning more about a divorce and custody fight in the family that had lasted for years. The investigation started back on December 19th when Colorado Springs police say Singler reported a burglary at their home. Police found a 9-year-old girl and a 7-year-old boy dead, with Singler and her 11-year-old daughter injured. Over the course of the next week, investigators went from considering Singler a victim to a suspect, but when they went to arrest her, she was gone. Police tracked her to the UK over the weekend. Court documents show Singler and her ex-husband, Kevin Wentz, had been in a legal battle for 5 years. In November, a judge granted a temporary protection order after Singler said her ex pulled a knife and threatened her. An attorney for Wentz says that never happened. Now Singler's waiting for her extradition hearing. That is set for the end of the month.
Well, today, former President Donald Trump's legal team could appeal the decisions that removed him from the primary ballots in our state in Maine. The decisions to take Trump off the ballot are based on the 14th Amendment, which says officials who engaged in an insurrection are disqualified from holding office. Trump was removed from the primary here in Colorado and Maine. Another case is pending in Oregon. Last week, the Colorado Republican Party also filed an appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court. Ballots in the state have to be certified on Friday, so the U.S. Supreme Court would have to take up the case and rule before that day or affirm the Colorado Supreme Court ruling.
New overnight, at least 48 people are dead after a major earthquake in Japan. This new video shows the aftermath of that 7.5 magnitude earthquake that collapsed buildings and triggered a tsunami warning all the way to Russia. Now the warnings are downgraded to advisories, but first responders are still telling people in coastal areas to evacuate. The shaking started fires and buckled roads in the central part of the country. The U.S. Geological Survey in Golden is tracking the aftershocks there, nearly 3 dozen so far.
Early this morning, a Japanese Coast Guard aircraft crashed into a commercial airplane while responding to the deadly earthquake. Fortunately, all 379 passengers and crew on board were evacuated from the plane, according to reports from Reuters. However, 5 out of the 6 crew of the Coast Guard aircraft are unaccounted for, according to a Coast Guard spokesperson. The Coast Guard spokesperson noted that the captain managed to escape the crash.
Right now, the FBI and police in Rochester, New York are investigating a fiery crash in the city early Monday morning. It happened outside the Kodak Center as about 1,000 people were leaving a New Year's Eve concert. Investigators say an SUV hit a car that was pulling out of a parking lot. 2 passengers in that car were killed. 5 other people were hurt, including 3 pedestrians. Authorities say officers found at least a dozen gas canisters in and around the SUV.
Lawmakers in Washington will get back to work tomorrow, and they are back on the clock to fund the government. Right now, the federal government is running on a stopgap measure passed last year, but without a new deal, we could see a shutdown in about a month. Both parties also say they also want to address the border crisis. Republicans saying that part of the agreement has to come first. That leaves Ukraine and Israel desperate for aid.
The new year is bringing in growing concerns in the Middle East.
Yeah, Israel making a major announcement about its military strategy in its war with Hamas. NBC's Bree Jackson has more on what Israel is saying about its plan moving forward.
Israeli forces ramping up strikes in southern Gaza as Israel unveils plans to reduce troops to prepare for prolonged fighting and to free up units in case the conflict spreads to other parts of the region. Tensions in the Middle East are rising. Over the weekend, Yemen-based Houthis, backed by Iran, tried to hijack a container ship in the Red Sea, shooting at U.S. Navy helicopters. U.S. forces then sunk 3 Houthi boats, killing everyone on board. The Houthis say they're targeting Israeli-bound ships in solidarity with the Palestinians, but have repeatedly attacked ships with no connection to Israel.
The point where the diplomacy must lead in all of this so we can keep this war local between Hamas and Israel.
As the war rages in Gaza, the Biden administration once again bypassed Congress and approved an emergency arms sale to Israel, selling $140 million in equipment. Secretary of State Antony Blinken defending the move, saying it's vital to U.S. national interest to ensure Israel can defend itself. Shut it down! Shut it down! Meanwhile, pro-Palestinian protesters rallied in several cities, calling for the United States to cease sending aid to Israel. In Washington, Bree Jackson, NBC News.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is saying that the conflict will take many more months to end.